I played the teaser for Return to Nangrim. Rather than gameplay or reactions, I decided to make an effort and to provide as much context around the game and its universe as I possibly can. Here is a dedicated video, because this project has a lot going for it. If you want to stay up to date with this title and other games I cover, mostly indie games, don't forget to subscribe, throw a video a like if you like it, and leave a comment for the algorithm. It really means a lot actually. Return to Nangrim is a first-person fantasy adventure with puzzle, survival and RPG elements. The PR manager of the game described it in an interview as Senua Hellblade meets Skyrim in Middle-earth. Hellblade because of its rather linear world design with a clear mission and side quests. Skyrim because of the RPG elements, the atmosphere, the immersion that this province of Tamriel brought us. And Middle-earth mainly because of the lore and the universe where all of these stories unfold. The fantasy setting is heavily inspired by the works of Tolkien. The game, Return to Nangrim, is set in a fantasy universe called Arafin, which has been developed since 2009. By now, this world consists of 4 races, 25 provinces, 600 clans and families, and 2600 cities, towns and villages. It is massive. In 2017, Psycho Forge was founded, the dev studio behind Return to Nangrim, to create their first game within Arafin. They have 30 devs currently and no less than 5 composers trying to bring Arafin to life. It's not just games though. Arafin is described as a cross-media universe, meaning that there are many ways to interact with this universe. At least that is the plan. No shortage of ambition here, that's for sure. What other ways, you might inquire? Well, for example, they are planning comic books, a whole suite of music, and currently there is an interactive audiobook which tells the story of Thyworm, the last guardian of the dwarves. This storybook is interesting for multiple reasons. First, it shows how committed the devs are to this enterprise, because while the story is short, it is fully voice acted, professionally voice acted, and it has a great soundtrack as well.
The tale of Turim, the first guardian, and how he has led us to victory in the great battle of Minas during the First Age, when the blood of the innocent has flooded the lands.
Second, we learn about the history of the dwarves and how the events in Return to Nangrim came to be. The storybook is a prequel to the game. So here's the plan for this video. I want to recall these events in the storybook, give you a decent background, weaving in information I found all across the web, and then smoothly transition into the actual game at hand here, which you can check out as well. It is on Steam as a playable teaser, which anyone can download. In Arafin, there are 4 main races, like I said. You have dwarves, humans, elves and orcs called Uturi. The game and storybook are mainly about the dwarves. The reason for focusing on the dwarves for now is because in their decade of building a universe, the devs felt dwarves were typically not in the spotlights. There aren't a whole lot of games about dwarves in the fantasy setting. In Arafin, the dwarves and their lore are the most developed, so it made sense to go with a game centered around the dwarves. The story starts with the Uturi, however, a brutal, rather mindless race. The Uturi are typically scattered across their clans, and if they can't find a common enemy to wage war against, they just start fighting amongst themselves. That is how bloodthirsty these creatures are. They are not organized at all, typically, until a new orc leader, Rogash, somehow manages to unite all the 21 clans. One of the reasons he is capable of doing that is because he is not a pure Uturi. He is half-elf as well. He's a lot smarter than the other Uturi, but still just as much longing for blood as his brethren. Under his command, the Uturi march north to war, to the place where the dwarves live, deep in the mountains. That place is Nangrim, the capital of the dwarves. To show once again the effort and level of detail the devs have already put into this universe, here is an interactive world map of Arafin. Zoomed out, you see the scale of the world, the several large provinces, and this is definitely a great asset to keep within reach while playing the game later on, as it provides a lot of detail and context. Nangrim lies in Eboria, and zooming into that region, the city and its gates appear. You will see the surrounding lands as well as small info markers providing some additional information. This region right here, this is where Return to Nangrim takes place. Nangrim itself has several sections you will possibly explore in the game later on. There are outposts, the halls of Nangrim, the mines which are partly available in the teaser, and several smaller areas like the forge, the tavern, etc. To protect Nangrim, the dwarves erected massive gates called the Great Gates. The dwarves have appointed guardians, 100 of them, to defend the citadel's great gates, but they are no match against all the 21 Uturi clans combined and their foul ways of waging war. All of the guardians fall during the battle, but one, Thyworm. He is the one writing the storybook. He is the last guardian of Nangrim, and he lets out a word of warning before he likely perishes as well. This event in the past, the fall of the Great Gates, is referenced in the introduction to Return to Nangrim. A fallen dwarf's memoir describes it like this.
We were not prepared. That which came upon us lied far beyond our imagination. Our plans, strategies, defense, in vain. The accomplishment of generations, the history of families, their joy, their sorrow, shattered in the blink of an eye. We stood strong, axes and hammers drawn. Our army, the guardians with their best beards, every beard. But the great gates fell, and what followed after soon sealed our fate.
We're unsure as to what attacked the dwarves exactly before you venture into this playable teaser, but most likely the Uturi are referenced here, or something the Uturi unleashed. We're waking up in an unknown location, and after getting our gear, we find the diary of Bahadur, which he in turn got from his father. In that diary, he describes several events. Reading this, we learn more about several events from the past once again. There is the long night, for example, which lasts at least 177 days, which is half a year, and they're preparing for the rise of dawn. It reminded me a little bit of Game of Thrones, where winters last years. Or maybe this event references the dwarves stay underground, and the rise of dawn means they're leaving, going on an adventure. That new adventure commences because a few pages later, our ancestor is exploring the seas on a ship, and he is headed towards the shores of Eboria, the province that holds Nangrim. The diary stops while they're on their journey in the middle of the sea on day 10, leaving us with little clues as to what they're after, where they're from, or what they found. But they reached the shores, that's for sure, because the diary ends up in our hands. We're making our way to Nangrim, so we are in Eboria ourselves, and now it is our turn to add to the lore. As we go on our adventure in Return to Nangrim and inspect things along the way, we add entries into the diaries ourselves, this way continuing the stories of old. A little later, we enter the scriptorium, and in it lies the text of an old dwarven song, which you can actually sing yourself like this.
Under the northern mountains old lies the glorious kingdom of stone. The mighty kings of iron and gold, reigning ever since on the mountain throne.
This is a feature that should tell you how much love and care already went into the game since it started production in 2018. It's admirable that entire songs are available and you can listen and sing them anytime you want. It's very immersive and it's clear what the devs are going for here. Another discovery in this area is a book on tales and legends of Arafin. Written in this book is a disturbing story about a miner losing his family during a festive event in the mines. The miner, ripped apart by hate and anger, then curses everyone still standing around after the mine collapsed, which perhaps led to later events where more lore books describe whispers coming from the depths of the mine. This very same mine is our objective of this playable teaser. Many letters and diaries you find along the way mention these voices and whispers rising up from the mine shafts, pushing even massive spiders that normally don't go here to the surface. They typically stay away from here, but have started attacking miners lately, and we find the corpses of their victims. To reach the mine, you will need to prepare and spend a significant part on crafting. This system is already quite fleshed out, with a working forge on different temperatures, smelting and forging. The game isn't hand-holding here either. You will need to read the crafting recipe yourself and create your own weapons. You can follow the path laid out for you, the recipe is already available, or do your own investigation. I managed to combine two parts of a recipe earlier in the game, which had in them an order for a bunch of axes. I simplified the order to the ingredients of just one axe, basically dividing everything by 10, and lo and behold, while putting all those materials in the forge and guessing the correct forging temperature, I actually was able to craft the axe described in the letter. It feels really good to be rewarded for closely examining objects and reading letters. It signifies the importance as well of curiosity and exploration, and there's a big focus on those features in the game. Return to Nangrim isn't primarily focused on the combat, which isn't even part of the teaser, but seems to emphasize an immersive world, well-written lore, interesting puzzles, and hints and clues spread everywhere, which you can use to your advantage should you take the time to read them. It's a very different approach to most first-person fantasy games, and it works well so far, at least judging by this teaser. If you're wondering what the full game is going to be about, there is a list of features in the main menu for this full game, things that you can expect on release, and the list is massive. I'll point out a few interesting things. For example, throw a stone to distract enemies. It's yet another indication that you're most likely not going to charge in wielding two axes like you would in Vermintide 2. Train animals is a feature to help you find treasure and spot enemies. Singing and playing instruments. Managing your light sources deep within the mountains will be vital. Resource gathering, crystal breeding and crafting plays a significant role, and learning the ancient Dwarven rune language is essential to your survival. There's no release date yet for any of this. Q1 2022 was stated in a few older press releases and videos, but that is out of the window, I suppose. The devs are stating there is a Kickstarter, the Discord, planned for 2022, which may give more information about future plans. This is not entirely in line with a few statements made recently by the PR manager of this game, in which he clearly is unsure about a Kickstarter campaign, as it has some downsides as well. There may be a Kickstarter next year, but perhaps for smaller features of Arafin, like another interactive storybook. Will the whole game be kickstarted as well? That remains to be seen. No matter the plans, I can wait, because there's just something unique about this game. The fact that this universe is being created for over a decade, the immense attention to detail in even the playable teaser, the way the devs are going about development, the look and feel of the game, the music, which is very atmospheric. It all just seems to synergize together so nicely and so smoothly that it makes me wonder what the final product will look like. Return to Nangrim is something special based on the information I have and that I tried to relate to you in this video. If you agree, make sure to wishlist the game on Steam and follow the game. It helps out indie studios a lot with the Steam algorithm. Just like subscribing helps out a lot with the YouTube algorithm, just saying. But that's it for now. Thanks so much for watching and making it to the end. See you soon. Love you all. Bye bye.
It seems you have reached the end of this Return to Nangrim playable teaser. By Taldoran's beard, I remind you that this is not a demo or a vertical slice. I haven't swung my axe, nor did I smash some of those 8-legged ugly creatures with the hammer that I will find later for sure. Never judge a dwarf by the adventures he has not yet gone on.